Assalamualaikum students, here is Usama Tahir and you're watching Learn English with Usama Tahir. Students, today we are going to talk about a very important aspect of linguistics, which is called second language acquisition. By second language acquisition means to learn a language in later childhood or in the adulthood, where your flexibility in learning the another language has been stopped or has been diminished. Students, we have two type of language learning: first language learning and the second language learning. By first language learning means to learn a language in the natural setting, in the natural atmosphere, by your parents, which is a stress-free process, and you just acquire that language so easily, and you get called bilingual, that you can speak more than one languages. And we have fortunate individuals, language users in the world that who can speak more than one language, and all these two languages or more than two languages are their native mother languages. They have more than one first language. I mean, they have first languages, not the first language only. But on the other hand, there are speakers who can speak another language, but their competence is not like the native speakers. They are not that much fluent, and we call them second language users, second language speakers. They have learned the language in their later childhood and in their adulthood, and their competence can never match with their first language abilities or with the first language native speaker of that language in which they are the second language users. So it means when you learn a second language, it is a stress process and you learn it consciously, and your abilities can never match with the first language abilities you have. Next, we have the distinction between the foreign language and the second language. Foreign language learning means you are learning a language that is not used in your surrounding, and you are just learning it for your personal reasons. It is not the official or semi-official language in the country, but you are learning it for your personal reasons. For example, while living in Japan, you are learning English. It is one of the good example of foreign language learning. And if we talk about second language learning, it means to learn a second language that is used in the surrounding, that is official or semi-official language in the country, and you put your conscious efforts into learning it, and it is used in the country's internal functions like getting good job, etc. So we call it second language learning. Like you're living in India and you're learning English, or you're living in USA and learning English. Next, we have the difference between acquisition of the language and learning of the language. By acquisition means to learn a language in a natural communicative setting in the childhood. Like you are not supposed to go to the institute and learn the language consciously. It is totally an unconscious process, a stress-free process, and you learn the language, in the flow, in the gradual development in the abilities of that language. Like the age for the acquisition is considered to be the age from the birth to the 7 years or 8 years, because at that time you're flexible enough to acquire the language, to get the language in you. But after that age, learning starts. You need to learn the language, you need to get the admission in the institute, and you need to give your conscious efforts to learn another language. So it is not that much effective than the acquisition. Next, we have second language barriers. Students, we have discussed that acquisition is very easy, it is stress-free, it is unconscious, and you're gradually learning the language without even knowing it. But learning is the conscious process. You're progressing, or you're not progressing enough. There are a lot of factors that you don't have enough time to learn a second language because your schooling has been started, you have a lot of other works to do, and you cannot give so much time. Your personality has been changed, your flexibility has in learning a second language has been diminished. So there are a lot of social barriers, motivation, all of these things. But we can say that some of the language aspects are easy to learn than other. For example, grammatical structures and writing skills are easy to conquer than learning the speaking, pronunciation, etc. So we have multiple examples of the English writers whose writings were considered classic in English literature, but their speaking and pronunciation is not native like. So we can say that some of the aspects of the language are easy to learn, but some are hard to learn. So these were a few points that I gathered for your information, and this was all today. If you have any question, any queries left in your mind, you can ask me in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe this channel. Thank you. Stay blessed. Goodbye.